Yes. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Chat Sports TV. I'm your host, Nick Dais, here at NFL Daily. At The Lamb Show is where you can find me. And make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. We are back with the second ever installment of the Dais Dozen. The 12 teams that I think are going to make the playoffs from the 1 to 6 seed in both the A and the NFC. These are the teams that I think are going to be positioned for a chance to win the Lombardi Trophy down in Miami, the wonderful town of South Beach, Florida, where the Super Bowl is going to be held this year in February. With that being said, we are a society that tends to live in the now, and recency bias can be one hell of a drug, but I am ignoring that because what Russell Wilson is doing for the Seattle Seahawks, an MVP season, currently the betting favorite to win NFL MVP in many, many sportsbooks across the world. He is a reason why I have the Seattle Seahawks as my number 1 seed in the NFC. The Seahawks currently are 8-2. They are on a bye week right now going into week 11. And over their next 5 games, they have at the Eagles, Minnesota at home, at the Rams, at the Panthers. Some might say tough, some might say easy. But I think right now, Russell Wilson, the biggest reason why I have the Seahawks as the number 1 seed is because he's having just one of those years that we're going to look back in the archives of NFL history and say, you know what? 2019, that was a Russell Wilson season, right? Remember a couple of years ago, it was the Cam Newton season. The Adrian Peterson rushing for 2,000 yards season. Oh, Pat Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns. That was a Pat Mahomes season. So 2019, I think ultimately is going to be synonymous with one Russell Wilson, and he's going to be the main reason why the Seahawks are going to be the number 1 seed. It's just the 1 seed. It's the magical year. And that's why. So I want you guys to weigh in below. I know the popular pick has been the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are actually the betting favorite per BetDSI, who is the source for the odds that I'm going to be referencing on this show. The odds for the Seahawks to win the division is plus 200. So if you trust my opinion and my theory on this one, then there's some value on the Seahawks. I'm betting them at plus 200 to win the division because you can't be the 1 seed if you don't win the division. So with that being said, who do you guys have? Put in the comments below. I want you guys to type Hawks for the Seahawks or type 49ers. 49ERS for the San Francisco 49ers. Who you guys have winning the NFC West? The number 2 seed in the NFC, and I'm going to ignore what happened in New Orleans with the Atlanta Falcons and the Saints because I think every team in the National Football League has one of those lay and egg games throughout their season, and I think this was it for the Saints. Coming off a bye was Atlanta, and they kind of that was their Super Bowl for the Falcons. My buddy Allen, who I do my show with, he always says, Falcons fans, they want to beat the Saints. So I'm ignoring that. The Saints are my 2 seed, and here's why. They're 7-2. Over their next 5 games, they got at the Bucks, they got the Panthers, at the Falcons on Thanksgiving. Then they got the 49ers at home. It's going to be a very important game for home field advantage, potentially, depending on how you feel about San Francisco. And then they got at the Colts. Their odds to win the division, only the Patriots are bigger favorites in the NFL to win their division. They're minus 1250, meaning to win $100, you need to risk $1,250. So risk a lot to win a little on the Saints. And my biggest concern for why they might stumble down the road is because Drew Brees, since the Thanksgiving game last year against the Dallas Cowboys, sorry, it wasn't a Thanksgiving, it was a Thursday game. That's why I got confused. Turkey's on my mind because it's my favorite holiday of the year. That Cowboys game, Drew Brees started to show every bit of the age of 40 that he is. And I think Drew Brees might be the biggest liability for the Saints down the home stretch. But they do have one of the easiest schedules in the NFC, and I'm trusting the infrastructure of Peyton and Brees, and they have a lot of all-pro caliber players throughout the entire offense and defense. My number 3 seed, the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers are currently 8-2, and they as well are on a bye. Then they got at the 49ers, at the Giants, Redskins, and Bears at home. The biggest reason why is I am a sensational rec league quarterback, and the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers is the sole reason why. I don't even know why I mentioned that I'm a sensational rec league quarterback. Well, hell, I figured I'd let you guys know. Number 12 is the reason why his team is going to be successful. He is playing at an MVP caliber season. At the moment, they are minus 222 to win their division. That means $222 wins you $100. And it's all on number 12, right? They're getting something with that backfield between Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. He got his favorite toy back in Devontae Adams, and that defense at times looks kind of overrated. Has been a bend but don't break kind of defense, and we got the flurries coming down in Green Bay, so I got Green Bay as my number 3 seed. This next one is going to be interesting because the number 4 seed is going to have to be a team that wins the NFC East, and at the moment we got 2 teams in contention, so we're going to do a matchup here, folks. We got the Cowboys and the Eagles. I personally am picking the Eagles, and here's why. As you look at the schedule for both, the Eagles have Patriots, Seahawks at home, then at the Dolphins, the Giants at home, and then at the Redskins. And then the Cowboys on the flip side got at the Lions, at the Patriots, Bills at home on Thanksgiving, at the Bears, and they have the Rams. Both teams are 5-4. And the Eagles are currently minus 133 to win their division, and the Cowboys are plus 100 to win the division. The biggest scheduling takeaway is that both of these teams have New England, but Dallas has to go into Foxborough, where the Eagles have the Patriots coming off a bye into the link to play them there. So the way the NFC is shaping up, the NFC East is going to have one team representing them in the playoffs, and it's going to be the division winner, right? 9-7 might win this division the way things are coming along. And also, it's very important to remember down the road, the Eagles are going to have another game to make up on the Cowboys, and this time Dallas has to come into Philadelphia to play them. So who do you guys have? Way in below. Type PHI for the Eagles, type DAL for the Cowboys, as far as who you guys have winning the division. Like I said, for me, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, because I still just trust Doug Peterson, that offensive line, and that front 7 for the Eagles. And I know the secondary has been absolutely atrocious in Philadelphia, but I still like what I'm seeing from Carson Wentz and them boys. The number 5 seed for me is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. At the moment, they are 8-1. The reason why is because they have a schedule of the Cardinals, the Packers, at the Ravens, at the Saints, and then the Falcons. They have a very tough schedule down the stretch, folks. But they have made up a lot of ground. They are 8-1. They are in cruise control. This is going to be something similar to what we saw last year between the Chiefs and the Chargers, where ultimately the Seahawks and the Niners might have the same record. Both might go 13-3 or 12-4, but the tiebreaker is going to be that San Francisco now has lost to Seattle, and they have to go into the 12th man to play the Seahawks later down the line. So that's going to be very important. The schedule is tough compared to what the Seahawks have. At the moment, they are minus 238. That is a pretty significant odds for them to win their division. So the sports books and BetDSI is telling you that no, the Niners are more likely to win their division. I think it's the Seahawks. And again, like we mentioned before, let us know in the comments what you guys think about that. And my number 6 seed, a team that I still don't know what to make of them. A lot of the players that they've counted on in the past on their defense have not been as great as they once were. For example, Xavier Rhodes, the road has been opened over the last couple of weeks. And the number 6 seed for me is the Minnesota Vikings of the NFC North. They are 7-3. The biggest reason why is because if it wasn't for Christian McCaffrey this year, guys, having a season that we haven't seen in a really long time since LaDainian Tomlinson, as far as usage rate, touches, yards, and touchdowns for a running back, we'd be talking about Dalvin Cook. And that guy is having an absolute bonkers kind of season. He's fully recovered from the ACL injuries that slowed him down 2 years ago and then last year until he got his feet underneath him. And their odds to win the division is plus 160. Their next 5 games are Broncos at home, at Seattle, got Detroit, at the LA Chargers, which is probably going to be a home game because the Chargers have no home field advantage. And then they play the Green Bay Packers, which could ultimately decide that division the way things are shaping up. And that game's going to be played in Minnesota. So, just to recap, we got the Seahawks, we got the Saints, we got the Packers and the Eagles as division winners. And then we got the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings rounding off the NFC side of things. Let's pivot on over to the AFC, the number 1 seed. Shocker, once again, it's going to have to go through Foxborough. I don't care that they lost to Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. The team is 8-1. They have the easiest schedule of any of the AFC division leaders. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I don't know what to tell you. It's the New England Patriots, guys. Everything's going to have to go through Foxborough. And because we can't ignore history, sometimes history repeats itself. And again, this team is going to have home field advantage in the playoffs at some point. It's going to have to go through Foxborough. I think they are the leader to be the 1 seed, though their schedule is a little tough. We saw they played a team like Baltimore who didn't have a dweeb at quarterback, right? The Patriots defense was being considered an all-time defense through their first 8 games because they played Sam Darnold, who saw ghosts, Sir Daniel Jones, who I love, but he's still a guy who got exposed because that's what Bill Belichick does to young quarterbacks. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Case Keenums, a lot of trash at quarterback was what they were playing. And then they played a guy like Lamar Jackson, and it's very important to note that over the next couple of games, they're going to play some high-level quarterbacks. They're playing Carson Wentz this week. They got the Cowboys next week at home. They're going to play Deshaun Watson, who's having an MVP caliber season. And then they got the big one against the Kansas City Chiefs with Pat Mahomes, who has said that this is the healthiest that he's been all season long. So no one is a bigger favorite to win their division. They are minus 5,000, which means you got to put $5,000 to win 100 on them to win their division. And I would say it's probably a lock. Not a lot of things in sports betting, folks, is a lock, but the Patriots to win their division year in, year out is pretty much a lock. Hell, even when they lost Tom Brady that one year, they went 11-5 with Matt Castle. So it seems like it's always going to go through New England. They are my number 1 seed. Number 2 seed, might surprise some of you, but the Baltimore Ravens, 8-2. Biggest reason why? It is Lamar Jackson's world, and we are just living in it, folks. The soundbite of John Harbaugh telling him that one day, 20 years from now, a lot of kids are going to be playing quarterback and wearing the number 8 because of him. It's going to be true. He is changing the position. I was completely wrong on Lamar Jackson. I don't know how you guys felt about him, but I thought he was a guy that struggled making throws last year. But it was very important to note that they had an offense that was built for Joe Flacco. And then this entire offseason, what did they do? They decided to build an offense around the strengths of Lamar Jackson, and it's turned into an 8-2 season. He is tied with Russell Wilson for NFL MVP when you're looking at the odds across the industry. Their schedule, they got the Texans at the Rams, the San Francisco 49ers at the Bills, and then they got the New York Jets. Their odds to win their division is the second biggest in the AFC at minus 714. That is $714 to win $100. And I just have a general question for you guys. We kind of talked about it once we started this breakdown about Lamar Jackson, but where does he rank across the NFL as far as players that you would buy a ticket to go see? Because for me right now, he does so much where he can be 10 of 30 throwing the ball, but he's still the most exciting player on the field because of his rushing upside and some of the deep bombs that he takes on the field. So my question is, where does he rank as far as players you'd buy a ticket to go see in person if the Ravens were playing against your favorite team in your hometown? Let me know. I'm very curious to see, because for me, it is Lamar Jackson. And then nice little segue into my number 3 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs out AFC West. They are 6-4. I am trusting the head coach and quarterback combination. Like I mentioned, Pat Mahomes said prior to them flying out to Mexico to play the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football, he said that this is the healthiest that he's felt all season long. 6-4. Their schedule is at the Chargers in Mexico. Then they got the bye week, which is going to be very important for them, because then they got the Raiders at home. Shout out to our guy Mitchell. He's loving Raider Nation right now. And then at the Patriots, and then the Denver Broncos. Their odds to win their division is minus 345. Number 4 seed, continuing the trend of quarterbacks that I would pay money to go see, Deshaun Watson, AFC South, my number 4 seed, the Texans. And the Texans are 6-3. The biggest reason why is because Deshaun Watson is playing like he's back at Clemson. Everything about this team outside of Watson and Hopkins is kind of mediocre, folks. The offensive line has improved, but it's still not on top 10 offensive line. And we don't need it to be for them, because they've had a bottom 3 offensive line for the longest time with Deshaun Watson. Now that offensive line is probably 18th in the league, and that's a significant leap from being bottom 3 to being close to the top half of the league. Their schedule is at the Ravens this weekend, going to be a bar fight. The Colts, Patriots, Broncos, very important. 3 consecutive home games for the Houston Texans, and then at the Titans, minus 165 to win the division. And a scheduling note about the Houston Texans, their last 3 weeks, they play the Tennessee Titans twice. The division might come down to that. It's going to be very important that we keep track of that, because that division, it's going to come down to those 2 games head-to-head between those 2 teams. My number 5 seed, again, 2 shout-outs for the man, Mitchell Renz. The Raiders, AFC West, are my number 5 seed. They are 5-4. The biggest reason why is Derek Carr is probably a top 5 quarterback in the AFC right now. And I am a guy who values the quarterback. As I mentioned before, I made the comparison between me and Aaron Rodgers kind of being sensational quarterbacks, for me at a rec league label. But the offensive line has improved as well. Their schedule is the Bengals at home, then they got at the Jets, at the Chiefs, the Titans at home, and then at the Jaguars. A lot of road trips for the Oakland Raiders, a team from West coming east to play in that early time zone, plus 400 to win the division. And I think 10-6 is possible for the Silver and Black out in Oakland, and that puts them in line for a wild card berth. And Josh Jacobs is the leading candidate to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and for me, he is the pick at the moment. Josh Jacobs is having a hell of a season, the first round pick out of Alabama. So I'm going to go with the Raiders as my number 5 seed. And my number 6 seed, I'm going to cheat a little bit, folks. The Tennessee Titans can either be the 4 or the 6 seed, depending on how those 2 head-to-head meetings go down between the Texans who we had as the 4 seed and the 6 seed Tennessee Titans. But staying with the Titans, 5-5. Their next 5 games are bye week this week. Then they got the Jaguars at home, at the Colts, at the Raiders, and then the Texans at home. The odds to win the division are plus 650. And my biggest reason why is because I've always been a Ryan Tannehill guy. Now, he's not in the Pat Mahomes discussion, but he's also not Andy Dalton. I thought he was a guy who was average. He did a lot with a little in Miami. Don't forget, Adam Gase kind of stripped him of his weapons. They got rid of Jay Ajayi, Jarvis Landry got shipped out. And this was a guy who was 10-6, and then he tore his ACL in that one season where they played the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. And I think that quarterback gives them hope. There were a lot of reports that surfaced after that comeback win against the Chiefs that a lot of people in the organization, well, in the coaching staff, I should say, wanted Tannehill to be the starter from September. But the organization spent a high draft pick, number 2 overall, on Marcus Mariota. They wanted to throw him another bone and give him another chance. But a lot of people in the coaching staff, Vrabel and them boys, they wanted Ryan Tannehill out there, because I think it goes back to what I was saying about the Jaguars last year, where there's just some times where when you go out there as a team, as a defense and an offense, and you have a quarterback that you know can't get the job done, it drops morale down. It drops team chemistry down. I think Ryan Tannehill has energized his team. 3 come from behind victories for the Titans in the discussion for a playoff seed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. Weigh in on the questions that I asked you, and we will catch you guys next time here on Chat Sports TV.